Focus today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and actually, this is the Joel Block Show, and I'm his special guest. I'm always excited to have Joel Block with me. He's a seasoned veteran capitalist. He's also a financial strategist, advisor, conference speaker, all-around good guy. He writes books. He jumps tall buildings. He outruns locomotives. And he has put together something for you I think will be a great resource if you employ people. It's called the Disruptive Business Trends for 2025. And you can go to joelblock.com and download this. There's a picture of it right there. And there's the QR code where you can download this. He's making this available for Dove viewers and listeners. Very, very resourceful. Check it out. All right. Joel, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Perry, how are you? Good to see you. Always good to see you.
Happy Monday. All right. Well, you obviously haven't been sleeping. You've been writing 2025 business trends and disruptive trends for forecasting of 2025. You got something in mind. What are you worried about here?
Well, first let me tell you that we've done this for many years in a row. It's for clients of our firm, many of which are hedge funds and Wall Street people. But on election day, I had already written 95% of the report. Just about every one of the predictions that I had made all came true on a single day. They just saw I had to rewrite the report. Normally this comes out in early January. It took a little longer because we had to redo and come up with some new stuff. So, but this is really good. The country is moving sharply to the right. We had gone way far to the left. And the left, you can tell they're really having a hard time with this, but we have really moved too far, and we're just on the way back. And listen, our system is self-healing, and we are in the process of self-healing right now.
Are we moving too fast?
Well, I think about that. I think the answer is if the president tried to do this with a scalpel, nothing would happen. So he's doing it with a sledgehammer, and it's not going to go perfect. But if he didn't do it this way, nothing would ever happen. He is trying to undo 50 years of bloat in a very, very short amount of time. And it's going to be painful in the short run, and it's going to be terrific in the long run. Because it really, this country is really in some difficult times. I mean, if we don't take care of ourselves, that doesn't mean we have to be selfish and there's no help for other people. But if we don't take care of business at home, we really could find ourselves in a world of hurt not too long from now. I'm really concerned about a lot of the financial considerations, the deficit and some of the interest payments. And we really have to turn this ship around in a big way.
What the president is doing is something that you and I would do with a company that's failing, right?
Of course it is. It's exactly the same thing. Elon Musk is not a bad guy. He's not. He doesn't have any power. He's an advisor to the president. He's like an auditor that's going in, or an advisor. He's going in. He's looking at things. He's making suggestions. The president says, "Okay, fine. Let's pull the plug on this. Let's change that." And then Elon Musk may be the one that delivers the news, but he is not making any decisions. He has no power, no authority. And I think that it's just fear-mongering for people to say otherwise, because that's not true.
As you were putting this report together, Joel, if somebody was starting to read this, what do you think would catch a business person by surprise?
I think that some of the biggest concern, I talk a little bit about AI, but not from the perspective of it's important to adopt. Of course, it's important to adopt. But the thing that business people have to understand, and a lot of your viewers own smaller companies, is that the pace of change is changing in the country. Think about this. For the vast majority of human history, we were in agrarian societies. They were farmers. For 10,000 years, they were, maybe longer, I don't know how long it is, they were farmers. And then in the 1700s, the Industrial Revolution comes along, and that lasted a couple hundred years. And then the technology revolution, maybe starting in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then the internet came along, and things got faster and faster. And I really thought, man, these are really moving fast. Things are really going fast. But all of a sudden, because of AI, the world is moving at a pace that none of us can really comprehend. And it is imperative that business people stay ahead of the curve on this, because If you don't stay ahead of the curve, you are going to get lost behind it. It's really, to me, that might be the single most important thing, beside the politics of moving right and the president and all the rest. I think the environment, we're living in an environment where things are moving at a pace that most of us cannot understand.
All right. Given what you just said, how would you work with a small company to forecast the first and second quarter when all these promises are being made, but we haven't seen the impact yet? Gas prices haven't gone down. The loaf of bread hasn't gone down yet. How do you forecast something that really hasn't been realized?
You know, well, first of all, I'm not really bullish on the fact that prices are coming down. I don't really think there's a lot the president can do to bring prices down. I think there's a lot he can do to prevent them from going higher, but prices are what they are. And a big part of the reason for that is that the cost of labor, as inflation ticked up over the last couple of years, labor has been asking for more money. And as labor asks for more money, prices go higher. As prices go higher, labor asks for more money. And so we're in this spiral that's really difficult to control. So we've been through this cycle now once or twice. Labor unions, and I talked about labor unions in one of our trends, have gotten a lot of power. They've done a very good job. They've been very, very smart. Some of their leadership must just be very sharp people, because they have worked the politicians in a way that we haven't seen in years and years, and they've gotten very substantial concessions for their people. So number one, what I would tell smaller businesses is that prices are probably not coming down. They need to plan on that. Among the things that they can plan for, government contracts, if there are companies that rely on government contracts, be prepared for those to be eliminated or at the very least renegotiated. That's absolutely on the horizon. And the companies that are going to survive at working with the government are companies that are going to help the government to be more efficient, because that's what the government wants. This current government wants to be more efficient. They want to cut costs. They want to eliminate waste, fraud, and all kinds of other problems. So if you're in a business, especially a technology-driven business, that can deliver those types of services to the government, then you're going to do fine. In fact, it's interesting, Perry, the largest decrease in stock market value for companies over the last month or two has been government contractors. So it's the Rocketdynes, all the big companies, the Lockheeds, the Northrop, companies. These companies, the writing is on the wall that they're going to lose a lot. Even the Europeans, as soon as the president was elected and they started talking about what the DOGE initiative was going to be, even the Europeans started saying that this is going to affect them. You got to imagine what a big gravy train this has been. There are a lot of people that have been taking advantage of this system for a long time, and that party is coming to an end, which is why everybody's screaming. They're screaming because their party's coming to an end. They're not screaming because they're happy about this.
So we all knew that there was government waste, excess government spending. Did we have any idea that it's as bad as we're now seeing? In particular, what we saw at USAID and some of the $50 billion into this agency, most of it going out of the country.
Yeah, we had no idea. Listen, I'm not opposed to helping people around the globe, but this has become one of the biggest piggy banks, for both sides of the aisle. I mean, this has really been out of control for a long time, and American taxpayers had no idea. I really think that we're starting to understand what Trump was talking about, drain the swamp, 8 years ago when he ran for president the first time. And it really, it is so much worse than any of us understood. And that's the reason there's so much screaming. People aren't screaming because we're not going to be helping people. I really think, you know what I think is going to happen, Perry? I think they're going to destroy this thing. They're going to shut it down. And in a year or two from now, we'll launch something new, and we'll start something small that's more targeted, that's more efficient. Because, the United States, we're good people. We help other people. Everybody says, well, the Chinese are going to step into our shoes. The Chinese are not going to step into our shoes. It's not their culture to do what it is that we do. So But I think that we will reinvent this concept, but it's going to be reinvented in a more efficient way where not everybody's got their fingers in the piggy bank.
No, I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, we want to be benevolent, but we want it to be responsible benevolence. It's gotten out of control. I want to come back to the labor union just for a moment. Joel, do you think, is there a way for companies to de-unionize and survive?
You know, unions have a great amount of power. So one of the things that we talk about in the report is preventing unionization, not deunionizing once it happens, but preventing it by treating workers in a really good way and not making it so that they even want to do that in the first place. I mean, you got to remember, like every political body, unions have their own agenda. There are union bosses who get paid whatever they get paid, and the workers don't get quite as much benefit as the workers believe they do. But I think that companies really need to be paying attention because unionization is really on the rise, and they're more powerful than they were in the past. I mean, they kind of went through a lull period there for a while, but they are back with a vengeance, and they're really doing some really good work for their people. And they're leaving a lot of companies, in some trouble. And by the way, union workers, get paid good wages. Those wages are inflationary, and so it causes the cycle to continue, and that's a big issue.
One other question on that before I take a quick break. I know of companies that are half unionized. How does that work?
You know, I don't know. I mean, that's really not my area. If they have certain areas, I know that there are companies that have different unions for different kinds of services. Those are much larger companies, probably smaller or medium-sized companies. Maybe they just have parts of their workforce that are maybe the blue collar part, maybe the white collar is not. So maybe there are different issues inside companies. I can't really say.
Okay. All right, let me take a break, but let me tell you to our viewers and listeners, Joel's put together really a remarkable, I think, resource for you. It's called the Trends, Surviving the Trends, Business Trends of 2025, and you can go to joelblock.com and download it. There it is, Supercharge Your Business. And there's a lot of information here. Just looking through the table of contents, I've been trying to read it a little bit last night when I should have been sleeping. See how dedicated I am to you, Joel. But anyway, it's very, very resourceful. You know what it'll do? It'll broaden your thinking, get you the big picture. Sometimes you get stuck in your lane and you need to get up 30,000 feet and see the big picture. That's what this report will help you to do. Check it out at joelblock.com. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and Joel Block's with us. Always great to have him. Joel is a senior venture capitalist. He's a financial strategist, advisor, conference speaker. He puts out this report every year, and I just got to tell you, it's worth the read. You got to go to his website, joelblock.com, and download Disruptive Business Trends for 2025. Again, Joel, this is laid out extremely well. I want to commend you and your team. I know these things just don't happen. This is a lot of work. And I want to have you take a look at this, and there's a picture of it right there. And he makes this available for Dove listeners and viewers, and you need to check it out. So check it out at joelblock.com. Hey, Joel, before we get too further down the road here, what is Advantage Player Institute?
You know, Perry, you may not know this about me, but I started my career as a youngster as a professional card player. When I was in college, I played blackjack, and that's how I paid my way through school. And I'd go to casino. Believe it or not, I'd go to casinos. So I started my life as a card counter in the 80s, and I spent the rest of my life in that giant casino on Wall Street. And so I've really been in this business, the gambling business, for my whole life, and that's what I've always done. And you have to imagine that in the period of time that I did that, I spent my life negotiating deals and working on stuff with some of the toughest business people in America. I mean, titans of business, attorneys, CEOs, accountants, investment bankers, and I did pretty well. I held my own. I made some of these big boys cry, let me put it like that. And so the Advantage Player Institute is really It's all about taking a lot of what I learned and helping middle-sized companies, what I call opportunistic companies, companies that want to grow, to gain some surgical skills. It's about taking their best people and making them elite people, because a lot of times the best people companies have are not necessarily elite. So we can make them elite, and that's really the goal of that program.
All right, check it out, joelblock.com. Come back to some areas of the report. It's one thing for businesses to be regulated into the ground, but over the top of that came wokeness and DEI, which now became policies and, quite frankly, enforced upon corporate America. And now it's being rejected. Wokeness seems to be dying on the vine, and DEI is turning to DIE. The impact of that has been fairly significant. Do you think it'll be totally eradicated?
No, it won't be totally eradicated, because it's not a bad social policy for all people to be included and be involved. I mean, that's, each company can make decisions, each family can make decisions, each group of people can make their own decisions about how they want to do those things. I think what people didn't like is having it stuffed down their throat and being instructed what to do. That's probably what the big problem was. And, you know, to me, it just shows you how superficial these sort of things are. As soon as the federal government ditched this, every corporation started throwing it overboard. And that just tells you that they didn't like it and they were going along with the program. I mean, it was pretty clear they didn't like it anyway. I mean, that was well known for a long time. But it really, you know, the fact that they abandoned this so fast over the last, you know, several weeks has been very telling to me. So I think, Perry, one of the things that as a society, it's not good for there to be any permanent underclass. I mean, all people should really have a chance. It's good for the whole economy of the United States for the best people to rise to the top and contribute what they can contribute. And if people are not the best people and they haven't gotten the resources they need, then give them more training, give them more help, give them more support. It's just not good for us to have people who want to move up that are unable to. If they want to, help them.
Good stuff. All right. I want to zero in for a few moments before we run out of time on the American workforce. As I talk to other CEOs, managers, if you want to get a groan out of everybody, talk about hiring people.
Yeah.
And everybody's got this deep to it. And yeah, I guess DEI is part of it, but really is the attitude of people looking for a job. Especially if you're the founder of a company, you just go like, am I going to hire this person to come in and be a part of me? I don't think so. How prevalent is this problem?
Well, it's a really big problem. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I would say, I'll take one outstanding person to 100 regulars every day of the week. That's it. I mean, I think that we have to really, especially medium and small companies, have to be very picky and very careful. And people need more than money. They need more than flexibility. I mean, you know, people talk about hybrid, they talk about these different kinds of things. But you know what people really want? I think they want somebody at a higher level than they are to put their arm around them and say, you know what, I like you. I'm going to take you with me. I'm going to take you somewhere and make you great. And, you know, people know that they have potential. They don't necessarily know how to harvest that potential. And I think that if we can really care about people in a different way, we're going to get better outcomes. Now, that doesn't help you the day you hire the person, because you know you can't say that the day you hire them. But I think if that's the attitude in your company, and if you really care about the people who are part of your team, I think that goes a long way. And I think that it's not a substitute for pay. It's not a substitute for all the other things that people care about. But that might just be the invisible factor that is really missing in a lot of companies, that small and medium-sized companies have the ability to deliver that big ones can't.
Is college teaching people, or at least encouraging them to have an entrepreneurial spirit and take risk?
Well, I'll tell you, based on all the things we've seen about colleges, I don't have a lot of confidence in colleges at all. I wonder what colleges are teaching people. I mean, they've always taught theoretical, which is not about entrepreneurship. It's not about risk. It's not about growth. It's not about anything that you and I value as business people. But I think that what is happening, and this is another one of the trends that we've identified in terms of the war on talent. I mean, people really need to, their companies are having a hard time finding great people. They're not hiring resumes as much as they were. Even Wall Street is not hiring resumes. They're hiring for attitude, they're hiring for mindset, they're hiring for someone's ability to be creative, be curious, ask hard questions. And I think that if people could really show up as somebody who's curious, that wants to learn, I can teach somebody skills. What I can't teach them is attitude. And if somebody shows up with a bad attitude, I don't care what their resume says. I don't care what the grades were in school. I'll take a C student every day of the week who's got a good attitude. I mean, listen, college isn't for everybody. It may not be the best measure. It may be one measure. But I'll tell you what, you give me somebody with a good attitude, and I can take that person an awful long way.
So how do you describe the war on talent? What is that? How do you defend that?
Well, I mean, there's not a lot of great people. I mean, there may be a fair number of people, but they're not all great people. And, the companies that I work with, I tell them that they need to really focus on elite people, people who are just outstanding. We got A, B's, and C's in companies. A's are obvious, C's are kind of obvious. You know what the real problem is, Perry? It's the B's, because the B people, the people who operate in the middle, they hide under their desk. They don't produce a lot. They don't get a lot of attention. They kind of try to stay under the radar. And that turns out to be a large percent of the workforce. So I would tell companies, focus on hiring the very best people that you can. Hire one of those and get rid of two of the mediums or two of the lows, and really build your company around better people. And better people demand certain kinds of things. They do want to get paid properly, and make sure your compensation's in line with what it is that you're asking them to do. Make sure that you're giving them training, mentorship. You're helping them to be the best person that they can be. That's both for your benefit, and it's for the benefit of the company. Let me tell you one of the ironies, and a great irony that I notice. Companies invest the majority of their training in their B and C workers, in their lower level workers. And that's the lowest ROI that they can get. You know how much higher ROI they would get if they put their money into the A people? Make your A people the best that they can be, because they're going to produce 10 times more than everybody else combined. And that's just the way it works. And, and those statistics are not, from any Department of Labor study somewhere. I'm just telling you intuitively, I just know that, a smaller number of A people will produce more than all the other people that you have on your team.
Interesting. One last question before I run out of time. The Consumer Confidence Index seems to be bumping on the ceiling these days. Pretty anticipation, I guess, is the best word. Looking forward to better times. Is it real?
Well, I'm pretty bullish. I think that what the president is doing, taking a lot of the fluff out of our budgets, taking the fraud, taking the waste out of our budgets, can only be a good thing. What that means is that ultimately we're going to stop running deficit budgets. Maybe we can reduce the deficit at some point. Maybe these tariffs are going to make some difference. I think the way that the president uses the tariffs is incredibly important, because what he's basically doing is he's protecting American workers and American jobs, so we don't offshore everything that happens in our country. One of the things that gives us so very much power in these negotiations is that we're one of the largest consumers of everybody else's merchandise on the planet. When everybody says, no one's going to like us if we take away all the aid and all the things that then, you know what? We're their biggest customer. They're still going to like us. There's no doubt about that. They're going to like us a lot, and they're going to do what we tell them. And if we tell them that we're going to move buying bananas from you and buying carnations from you, we're going to move it to some other country like we did to Colombia recently, then you know what? All of a sudden they say, you know what, that maybe I wasn't so serious about whatever I said before, and we need to be more cooperative. And this president really understands the power of negotiation. He's a consummate deal maker. I will tell you that Most people don't understand it because they're not deal makers. They don't understand how the deal making business works. But I'll tell you what, that's how it works on Wall Street. And he's treating our company like a Fortune 500 company, sort of like we are. And we're going to get a lot of benefit from the things that he's doing for us.
Were you surprised to see him use the tariffs the way he did?
I am not surprised because he understands the power of moving the chess pieces on the board. And that's all the tariffs are, is when you say to a country, we're going to put 25% on your flowers, and so instead we're going to buy flowers from a different country. That's what that country hears, is that my flowers are not going to be priced competitively anymore. And as a result, they're going to buy flowers from somebody else, and I'm going to be standing with a lot of dead flowers. So the president understands the power of moving consumption from one customer, from one vendor to another vendor. In those cases, they're countries. But he understands the power that he has as the world's biggest consumer. And as the world's biggest consumer, we need to flex our muscles and get the things that are fair for the United States. And I don't know why the United States has been so timid about asking to be treated fairly, but we have not been treated fairly over many years, and he's going to straighten that out for us.
One last question. What do you want people to take away from your disruptive business trends for 2025?
You know, the world's in flux, and companies need to prepare themselves because the world is changing fast. At the end of every one of the trends, there are 7 key strategy questions, and I want them to sit around their board tables. I want them to sit with their teams. I want them to ponder these questions. And if they come up against the wall and they can't break the log jam, then they should reach out to our office and we'll help them. Because we advocate for the underdog. We advocate for smaller companies. You know, even companies, a $1 billion company in this world is a medium or smaller size company compared to Fortune 500s, and they're underdogs in their environment. And we advocate for those companies because entrepreneurial America is what makes this country great.
All right, check it out, all of it, especially this report that he's making available. You'll see the QR code there, so when you download this, you'll see the QR code, and you can download it there. joelblock.com, and called Supercharge, but also really a resource, Disruptive Business Trends for 2025. Actually, there's a lot of wisdom in all of this, and I think you'll find it to be a great tool as you kind of put together your first, second, third, and fourth quarter plans for this year. Joel, great to see you, buddy. You did a great job today. Who knows? I may have to send you a bag of candy or something.
Harry, always good to visit with you.
Good to see you, buddy. Take care.
Be well.